Now I know why all you haters.
Everybody, welcome back. Sorry about that. I had to figure out a way to get rid of that feature, that scenes feature, because it was screwing up my presentation. So we're back. So we are going to be watching the Casey and Becky collab. It's like a super group, isn't it? And apparently Becky is going to be collabing with Destiny too. Gee, I can't wait for that. Listen, it's all content for me, all right? Everybody's making money off of it, so will I. I have no shame, because all the other stuff that I'm seeing on YouTube and all the other issues that I see as I look out on the landscape are so depressing that I figure why not rot our brains with this inconsequential nonsense. All right, let's now please tell me that you can see this, because if you can't see this, I will be very, very sad. All right. Thumbs up if you can see the screen. Thank you, Dove Kitty. I appreciate that. And while I've got you all here, don't be shy to click the membership link. Don't be shy to send super chats. Oh, let me shamelessly turn on the crawl. Why not? All right. Hey, Astro. How you doing? Oh, thank God. Okay. All right. Let's get down to it then. Let's play this mess. This is Apathetic Fax's channel, which is not a stalking channel. It is a clip and archive channel. Clip and archive channels are not stalking channels. They clip and they archive. It is very simple. If you have a complaint with one, you need to take it up with all of them. Go tell Four Wick Candle that she needs to scram off the internet, or just saying. So no, clipping and archiving people's own words is not stalking. All right, let's continue.
A little tea. Basically, Casey launched a podcast with a couple of his friends, with Beck as their first guest. They set up a site for viewers to ask them questions, and they went live tonight to spill it all.
It's not just about the questions. It's also a chance for Beck and Casey to sit down and have a conversation.
Wonderful.
There you go.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
And to
We
make
both
them
had to experience this, and it's like even the people in her girlfriend's lives, her partner's lives, even their families and stuff have to suffer through her.
See, that's the one thing about being in ground zero, I guess, is that I knew I wasn't, but reaching out to other people is very like, hey, I was effed over too. You want to talk about it? Like, that's hard to do. This is the first time I've ever talked to anyone that's been in the past. I mean, I knew of Crystal because we all, I mean, like I've said, she was talking to Crystal along with me, but I never like sat down and talked to Crystal. And to all of you asking for us to reach out to Crystal, please leave the poor woman alone, please.
She doesn't want nothing to do with
No,
it. And it's
leave
totally
that poor baby
cool.
alone.
That and Libby. Let's not drag Libby.
Leave that poor baby.
You know, as I was saying in the other stream, when you guys couldn't hear what was being said in the video, first of all, it looks like the X's are forming a coalition to form like the fattest, most spurgy Avengers ever. I stole that from somewhere. I don't remember if it was from the farms or from Reddit, but I thought it was pretty clever. Here's what I don't get. I'm going to repeat it. This Lukewarm Tea channel, I think, is partly Casey's channel. And she's, or he, whatever, has collabed with a couple of other people. Now, I don't understand a lot of things about the millennials and the Gen Zers, and I probably won't understand Gen Alpha as well. A number of the things that they consider to be normal that I think are completely weird. I do not understand this concept of being in a relationship with somebody that you've never met, but you've only exchanged messages with in a Discord server or in email, or that you've texted or maybe FaceTimed a couple of times, but that you've never met in person. Hello, my love. How are you? However, one of the good things about having an audience that is older is that I can talk to you like older, mature people. When I had my old channel, one of the things that I pointed out that I still think is weird, and you can hold me to this, and I'm sure all of you think it's weird too. So you've got a young woman living in your house. In Casey's situation, she was very young. She was 15. In Crystal's case, she was older. I don't know how old she was, in her 20s or whatever. How can you, as a parent, listen to your kid who says to you, comes up to you one day and says, look, I've got a new girlfriend. I've met somebody on the internet. Do you mind if she comes to stay? And They've never met. They don't know each other from Adam. And that person moves in and they don't leave. And you are the owner of the house. You are the parent. You're in charge, supposedly. And you don't put that person out on the street. You don't kick them right out. You allow them to stay for weeks, for months, for however long Amberlynn stayed with Casey in a tiny one-bedroom apartment with Casey, the mother, and the boyfriend. Okay? And with Crystal, she stayed with the family for a long time. A long time. Now, I blame the parents in this situation. I think that the parents fucked up majorly. Amberlynn was an absolute nobody. She was a stranger on the internet. She moves in, and all of a sudden, the adults have the obligation to take care of her because she's not in school, she's not working, she's sitting around all day, making a nuisance out of herself. And I don't get it. I don't understand this form of parenting. I don't understand how this is okay on any planet, in any realm, under any circumstances. So as far as I'm concerned, the parents have a lot to blame in this situation. It is absurd that parents would say, oh, sure, you met a rando, move them into the house. I don't know, maybe they thought Amberlynn was safe because she was so huge. I wouldn't allow it, and my parents wouldn't have allowed it. I know Negz wouldn't allow it. I know that most sane people would not allow that, but this is something I have never been able to wrap my head around. Crazy.
Baby alone
too. Like, don't touch the poo, okay?
And it's like, you know, I get it, because that was me at one point. I didn't want to come back. I didn't want nothing to do with it. I wanted to forget that it ever happened. I never wanted to have to think about it ever again. And then it's just like she just wouldn't stop. And I'm like, well, now I guess I'm just going to re-traumatize myself.
Of course not.
Drag you through the way you deserve. Yeah, because I mean, it was bringing up stuff I completely forgot about, having to dig and remember. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe that I went through this and I stayed.
You don't, in the moment, you're just like, oh, I care about this person. You know, I'm not gonna. Right. It's maybe like I can care about them enough to divert this kind of treatment, and it doesn't work.
Right, and it's like you were put in sort of the same position of her grandmother kicked her out, and she had nowhere to go. Same position. Yeah, like she told me the reason she had to move in with you is because her grandma wouldn't let her.
Oh yeah, that was she got that phone call / text message when she was with me in November. She was supposed to come visit me for the month of November, be around for my birthday and Thanksgiving, and then go back home. That obviously did not happen. My mom even talked to her mom, and her mom said, like, yeah, Amber can't come back.
That's wild. And it's like,
okay, so the moms spoke to each other, and Amber's mother said, no, she can't come back because she's squabbling nonstop with grandma. And Casey's mother said, oh, okay, she can stay here in a tiny apartment and leech off of the family. Absolutely no fucking way. No way. I mean, look, there's compassion, and there's feeling sorry for somebody, and there's, you know, oh, she just got out of foster care or whatever, and she has nowhere to go. I'm sorry. You need to go out, get a job, check into a crappy motel, do whatever you have to do. But no, you can't stay here indefinitely. And why this was permitted, and apparently there was some pretty nasty fights involving a flung ashtray at one point between Amberlynn and the mother. I don't understand it. I don't understand how it's permitted. I mean, there's being kind, and there's being compassionate, and then there's being a sucker. And that's exactly what these adults allowed themselves to become, suckers.
Even your own family don't want you to come back. And it's like, there has to be a reason why. There's a common thread. She did the same thing to you that she had done to me. She was like, you know, I don't have any family. I don't have anybody else. You are all I have. I need you. And I'm just like, that's so true. And I can't just leave her to her own devices because she can't survive on her own. But I mean, if you look at her patterns with who she chooses for her partners, they're always really kind, quiet, timid people. Every single one of us. But, well, Destiny wasn't really all that quiet, but Destiny was very kind, like to me anyway. Everybody else that she had dated was just took care of her, was so good to her. And then whenever we break up with her, we're monsters, we're awful, we did this and that to her, and she's just got something bad to say about every single person she dated.
For after each of you were able to escape, how did your families react, and did they support or help you get back on your feet?
I was still very young, but yeah, my mom helped me, and she felt bad because like Amber was my first like real relationship, like long, like the first long one, the first anything. So like my mom helped me as much as she could, and my poor mom, like she had to pick up a lot of the pieces that was me when Amber left, because it was just okay, I'm gonna go to be with Crystal now, and within like from the time she told me like we're over, in less than 24 hours she was on a plane going to Crystal. So I was like,
your mother was completely negligent in this situation, Casey, completely negligent, to allow a stranger into the apartment to be with a 15-year-old girl. And I don't remember how old Amber Lynn was. I'm sure that it fell within like Romeo and Juliet or whatever. But that's not the point. The point is that there was absolutely no way, absolutely not, that my parents would have allowed such a thing to happen. It's unimaginable to me. But okay, let's continue. I blame the parents completely.
Even though I knew the relationship was bad at the time, I was devastated because I was a kid. I didn't know and at the time, being in the Rainbow Mafia, if you will, it was hard in the early 2000s because you didn't know who you couldn't. I as a kid, I couldn't tell who would have liked me or not. So I was just like, oh my God.
Early 2000s, try the 1980s.
Like I don't know how to date anymore.
Right. It made you feel so alone.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, yeah, I had my friends there for me and my family, my sister and my ex-brother-in-law and Eric and Ricky at the time had all come to help me move. And I moved in with some other friends.
Wait a minute. Wait. Whoa. Hold the phone. So your family and Eric and Ricky helped you move. So what was all that to do about only being given $100 to move, and you had to rent the U-Haul and it was a big hurry and everything? So you did have people help you move. So people helped you move. So you weren't by yourself. You didn't have to load the truck by yourself. It sounds like you had a lot of help, Becky. So why did you tell that other story? That, you were left in the lurch and you didn't know what to do, and, you were the damsel in distress and all this. That's not true, is it, Becky? It's not true. You see, throughout this, every time Becky gives an interview or every time Becky goes live, there are more and more and more contradictions in the story. I am not, for people who are brain dead or people who are, I got a couple of comments on some of my Priscilla P videos where people are like, oh my God, look at you. You are running interference for Alexandra Rodriguez. No, I'm just pointing out shitty reactor behavior. It doesn't mean that I co-sign every single thing that somebody else does just because I'm criticizing someone. That's not how it works. Amber Lynn is a fucking nightmare. We saw it play out because she turned her life into kind of a Truman Show. So we saw it. We saw it with our own eyes. And this is not a defense of Amber Lynn. And I'm sure that when Amber Lynn was younger and even now, she's a fucking nightmare to live with. Very high maintenance, the constant emotional swings, the huge amount of weight that she's gained, the demands, the crying, the stomping, the carrying on, the drama, the internet addiction, all of it. It must be a nightmare because she's trapped in a system where this is the only way she can make real money, realistically speaking. And so she is trapped in a bubble with an audience that loathes her and reaction channels that pick her apart, left, right, and center. And it sucks. And anybody who comes into that orbit is going to feel the pinch of it. Absolutely. But at the same time, yes, this is this is the thing. Everybody needs to move the fuck on. These girls, or Casey, whatever, trans man, broke up with Amber Lynn years ago. Years ago. And now it's sad that this is the only way that they can make money. Becky uploads ghost stories and nobody watches, nobody cares. Nobody gives a damn about her gameplay or about anything else. All they want to hear is more tea about Amber Lynn. Well, at a certain point, she's going to run out of stories to tell. And now we're going to start seeing contradictions in the stories that she has told. Let's continue.
And stayed there for a little while. And then I ended up getting an apartment with another friend.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm living with my fiance. And it's just like, I did get support from my sisters and some of my friends. It was scary and terrifying, to leave and not have really anything. And it was also very freeing. I didn't feel like I was held under a thumb anymore.
What is the most manipulative thing Amber has done to you, either one of you? Actually, we all saw it went live when Amber Lynn was sitting in the car and she's like, mental things are scary or whatever.
Oh my God. I really can't remember what was going on before.
And it's funny to me. Becky's memory is very selective. There are things that she remembers like they were yesterday, and there are things that she just can't remember. Now, there was a period of time in their relationship, and we all saw it, where she was on what appeared to be either tranquilizers or antipsychotics. Because remember, she told the story. Yeah. Hang on. Well, this is the thing. Look. Okay. I saw a critique somewhere on one of the message boards, one of the image boards or whatever, that for somebody who had their entire life taken care of by another person, for whom they were a caretaker, Becky walked away with junk, with nothing. She walked away with what? T-shirts, hats, DVDs from the bargain bin at Walmart, and what? A couple of tapestries or prints or whatever. And somebody made a snarky remark that, if they had been in a relationship with Amber Lynn and had to put up with the amount of shit, literally, that Becky had to put up with, that they would have had Amazon making regular deliveries every day to the point that the Amazon delivery driver developed massive calf muscles from delivering so much stuff. But then again, we also know that Amber Lynn was hoarding junk, crock charms, stickers, journals, what else? Makeup, perfume, earrings, cheap earrings, just garbage. I wonder what happened to all that stuff. I wonder where all that stuff went. But it was garbage. She had hoarded out 2 rooms in the gay care. So, I mean, I know Becky didn't make a lot of demands. She's not a materialistic person. But she walked away with nothing. Like, nothing of value. Just a lot of grief and bullshit. But let's continue.
That whole thing in the car, but I know that we were at Walmart and she had me in the store. Whenever I came out, I was so done. I just wanted to get home. I got in the car, the camera was in my face, and I was just shut down at that point. And I knew that she had been crying and was upset. It was full-on manipulation.
Got it.
The most manipulative thing, and it happened like continuously. I have a friend. I'm not shy about saying I have a friend. If I didn't, she helped me get my GED and everything. She's my best, one of my best friends. When Amber was living with me, she had it in her head that I was sleeping with her. And so every time I would go to hang out with her, I would, say, hey, can I go hang out with my friend? First, she would be weird about it. And then afterwards, she was like, yeah, go ahead. And I was like, okay, you're not going to get weird like you did last time,
Hello,
right?
SARS.
You're not going to be messaging me and everything like that, being all mad and weird. She's like, no, I want. Okay. So I go hang out. And this happened multiple times. I go to hang out with my friend. And then less than probably like 45 minutes, at least 30 minutes, I get text messages. You need to come home right now or else I'm going to get on a bus and leave you. And I know you're sleeping with her constantly. So to the point where me and my friend just couldn't hang out anymore. And I was still, a teenager at the time doing all that, just wanting to hang out with friends. And I couldn't because she would be messaging me, I'm going to leave you if you don't come home right now. You have 30 minutes to get home. You have 5 minutes to get home or else I'm going to get on a bus. You'll never see me again, blah, 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 blah. And of course I felt bad and like I was doing something wrong. And then one day I come home and I'm like, why do you do that? Like, why do you always do that? She's like, because I don't like her.
And what a trip when she came back.
Imagine that you've got a freeloader living in your tiny apartment with your mother and her boyfriend. And she is being this overbearing. Again, this is Casey's mother's fault. Casey's mother should have kicked her out of the house. That's enough. You're not going to come in here and start making rules and start bossing people around and start telling people what to do. You do not live here officially. You don't pay the rent. You don't pay any bills. You don't help out around the house. You don't go to school. You don't do jack shit. Why did Casey's mother allow Amberlynn Reed to boss a 15-year-old girl around? I don't understand it. And as far as choosy being a hoarding behavior, I think it's an OCD behavior. I don't know if you guys caught up on this. This was like one of the only interesting things that Becky said about this choosy game that Amberlynn used to make Crystal and others play, where you would have to choose and it's like you put a pile of crap in front of somebody and you say, all right, you have to choose this, you have to choose. It was a nightmare. It sounded like torture. It sounded like absolute torture. To force somebody to go through this ritual of this highly boring, repetitive behavior. And these girls, I think that a lot of them were just very, very spineless and weak to allow themselves to be dragged into doing this boring shit over and over and over again. It's sad. They seem to have very low self-esteem, and they're very easily railroaded and run over by Amberlynn, who has an overbearing personality. But in the case of Becky, she was an adult. She was an adult. She wasn't a 15-year-old. She doesn't have Casey's excuse.
Back and was like, oh, but she was in my life. And
yes, she tried to add her right before accusing me of what she did. Sorry. She tried to add that friend on Facebook, and my friend was just like, hey, why is she trying to add me? And I even messaged her, like, why are you trying to add her? This was right before the video. She's like, well, because she was an important part of my life. I was like, you hated her. I literally told her that you hated her. You guys were oil and water. You despised her, and she don't like you either. And she told me in a message that I'm making it up. That's not what happened.
Oh, yeah, that's what she does. Her and Ricky were like oil and water, and they did not get along at all. So like whenever they stayed friends after, I was just like, why though? And then they told me, well, because she's actually changing. And I'm like, no, she's not. And then they finally saw for themselves, which I don't know, that I heard, rumors that they became friends with her again. I'm not sure exactly what happened with all that. Like, she absolutely would hate these people. And then like whenever she and her ex splits up, she still tries to stay in these other people's lives that she's.
Yeah, that's weird. And that happens all the time in breakups. You try to, you attempt to stay friends sometimes with your ex's friends, and it works out very, very badly. As far as Eric and Ricky, I am willing to bet that Amberlynn was giving them money. I think that's why they decided to stick around, because they were not fond of her. So everything comes down to money with Amberlynn. She was probably paying them off, just like she gave Becky's family money. She gave Destiny money, Destiny and Dana money. And then there was a big falling out when she stopped giving Destiny and Dana money. It all comes down to, people attaching themselves to her like limpets and getting money from her. It's shameless, but that's my theory.
Supposedly hated.
Do you ever feel like she tried to stay friends with your guys' friends to keep tabs on you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's stalkerish behavior. And I've always said if Amberlynn was a different body size, she very well could be dangerous.
I definitely know that she would be, because she always would tell me if I was my actual weight, I would be in California and I wouldn't be talking to any of you guys. And I wouldn't be I would never talk to anybody my size.
Yep.
Were you together at this time?
Yeah. And I was like, so basically
Oh my
you would be a piece
God.
of garbage. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, so you'd be shallow. And she's like, yeah. Yeah. It just came down to looks. And I was like, so
Yeah, but that's not news, though. I mean, we knew that she had this weird vision of herself as an influencer in Los Angeles, and that she was going to be like Laura Lee and Trisha Paytas and Alexandra Rodriguez, you know, a skinny version, and that she was going to live the high life and she was going to make tons of money in LA and run around and have a tan while not driving in Los Angeles. So, yeah, that comes as no surprise that she would say, oh, you know, if I was at a normal weight, I wouldn't be hanging out with you poor white trash. I would be off living my best life. So, not surprising.
that's really what she does think about me deep down. Like deep down, I knew that she wasn't into me, but like deep down, I honestly wasn't into her anymore either, because it's like I was her caretaker. So it's like
We
all
know.
of that, all those feelings were gone and out the window very quickly.
What was the moment that you guys realized those feelings were gone?
It took a really long time for them to fully develop in the first place. Like, I liked her. She kind of pushed me into the relationship, you know, because I wasn't exactly there, but she was like, well, I've got people in mind to date me. And I'm like, well, I don't want to lose you yet. So,
okay, let me remind everybody that what people are saying in chat is absolutely true. In my chat, not that chat, that Becky reached out to Amber Lynn allegedly because she was worried that Amber Lynn was going to self-delete. Okay. She goes to visit Amber Lynn in the apartment that Amber Lynn had been living in with Destiny. The apartment was a fucking wreck. There was an entire room in that apartment that was basically turned into a giant litter box and poo-poo pee-pee pad. The animals were defecating and peeing indoors. The cats were pooping and peeing outside of the litter box. Now, if I had walked into that apartment and the smell had hit me when she opened the door, I would have turned on my heel and I would have left. No way. No way. She knew Amber Lynn for 5 minutes and she decides, oh, hey, Tiffany Stinks, how you doing? And she decided that she was going to move Amber Lynn in, a person she barely knew, a person she knew had horrible hygienic habits when it came to her pets, no standards of cleanliness, no nothing. And she moves her into a house with 2 of her oldest friends from high school. Who does that? Who does that? And you're not even sure that you want to be in a relationship with this person. And then from that moment on, the relationship turns into a patient-nurse relationship and a driving Miss Daisy relationship. And you stuck around for 4 years. What did you think was going to happen? I mean, come on, let's say it straight. This was not a great romance. This wasn't like an incredibly, you know, hot and heavy relationship. Becky didn't even want to be in a relationship with anybody. And Amber Lynn somehow talked her way into the house. She wouldn't leave. And then, you know, the rest is history.
I guess we'll start dating. So then after that, it took me a while to come around and get lovey-dovey and get close because I had my guard up anyway from past experiences. So my feelings came later. But then once I started having to constantly do everything by myself.
God, Becky makes it sound like an arranged marriage. Like, okay, we're going to shove the 2 of you together and then love will build over time. All right. All right. Well, I hope you learned your lesson. Although now Becky is engaged to a former Am baby. It's all whatever. And I'm not criticizing people who meet their significant other on the internet. That would be incredibly hypocritical of me, obviously. What I'm saying is that this was doomed from the beginning. And everybody could see it from the first moment that Amber Lynn introduced Becky on her channel. We could see it. Let's continue.
So whenever my feelings just sort of left and I just felt like I was taking care of a friend.
It was when the incident happened with Crystal and the iPod Touch, when she got mad at her over the memory size and made Crystal cry. And I told her to apologize to her. And I realized then that, one, I knew it was going to end and I knew I wasn't having these feelings anymore, I knew that I was just scared to be, be alone because I didn't know how to date. I was a kid. If she is making someone cry and being that vile over the memory size of an iPod
over a
Touch,
gift,
and she told me, oh, Crystal's crying because of this, and she told me what happened, thinking that I'd be on her side, and I looked at her and I was like, you need to apologize to her. That was a simple question. She's crying.
My mom was supposed to get
Sure,
this
Tiffany.
money from my dad's work because it was a like a stock that had built up over the years and it got released. So it got split up between me and my sisters. And whenever I got it, I was like thinking, I can put this back for, anything. And Amber was like, no, we need to use it for bills and stuff. And she's just like, honestly, I've paid for everything up to this point. So you kind of owe it. But her live last night, she was just like, we bought the bed. No, we bought the bed before I got the settlement. We bought the bed before my mom passed away. So we didn't get the bed from that money.
Oh, I love that.
She's like, well, then we also took a trip to Gatlinburg. I talked to my sister this morning and asked how much we all put in for the cabin. And she said it was like 160 something. And then all we did was we went and ate at Paula Dean's. We went to a Christmas store. And then we went to Walmart and sat in the cabin for the rest of the time.
Okay. How many of you in chat have been to Gatlinburg? How many of you have visited Gatlinburg/Pigeon Forge? Our family went to Gatlinburg. Was it last year or no? It was the year before in 2023. Now, one of the things that if you visit Gatlinburg is that it requires a lot of walking. And it's quite, there are parts of it that are quite like hilly because it's on a mountain. It's mountainous in Tennessee. Now, what a bizarre place to go on vacation when you have a member of the party who can't walk like 10 steps. And then you think, oh, okay, well, we're all going to go out and do things together. What things are you going to do together? It's also depending on what time of year you go. It's very crowded. So I don't know what they thought that Amber Lynn was going to be able to do in Gatlinburg, how she was going to be able to navigate, the foot traffic and the stores and the restaurants and everything else. It's a really, really impractical place to take somebody who's 500-600 pounds on vacation. Yes, Rachel. Yes. And as far as the bed is concerned, I know that there was a big to-do made because Amberlyn said, oh, well, I bought a $6,000 bed that I never slept in because Becky wanted it. And they're like, oh my God, she bought it before you got your inheritance. What difference does it make? She spent $6,000 on a bed that was completely pointless, which was stupid. They shouldn't have done it. But I don't see how that makes a difference one way or the other in terms of the inheritance. Maybe I'm missing the point. Let's continue.
Well, my family went and did other things.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it sounds to me like Amberlyn owes you, $5,000-$6,000 at minimum?
Tack on another $20,000 for pain and suffering.
Some of her videos, like some of her best videos, are the ones with you in them back, like the most views and stuff.
Yeah, that was something else. She always told me that stuff with me and it got less views. So that's why she had me stop being in them for a little while.
That's a stupid lie.
So when I was younger, when my nana was still around, she would give me birthday money, right? And one year, this is when it was Crisis Core and Kingdom Hearts came 365 days over 2. And I wanted to get both of them. I had money to get both of them. I was so excited. And I just turned 17. And I go to pay for them and she gets a little attitude. And I'm like, well, what's wrong? And she was getting mad that I was getting both games. She's just like, if you get both those games, I'm going to be so mad at you. And I was like, what? So I ended up getting one game. And I was so sad. But I ended up getting one game and she was mad because she wasn't getting anything out of it.
That's so
sounds
stupid.
About right. That sounds like her. She wasn't getting anything out of it. So she was upset because it wasn't focused on her.
At the time that she took your money back, she was making plenty of money. There was really no need for it. Or am I wrong on that?
No, she was making a lot of money. A lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is that at one point in 1 month, she had made like 20,000.
God,
doesn't surprise me.
That's insane.
I know that there was at one point she was making a lot of money, and I had no idea how either.
She didn't tell you, huh?
No.
Oh my
Oh my
god.
Like I've been finding out so many things lately that I did not know about. I'm so excited.
Wait a minute. Did she misspeak just there? She's like, I don't know how she made so much money. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. She streamed and she uploaded videos. That's how she made money. By cultivating a hate audience. A hate audience, which, can I remind everybody, they didn't like Becky either. Remember how everybody said that Becky was a huge downer and Becky was a bummer, and Becky always lingered on death and talked about her nephew and how she was boring and how she couldn't draw. And there were a lot of critiques of Becky back then. And now all of a sudden, Becky is like the great Saint Becky who's so talented. Her drawing ability is incredible. She's practically Leonardo da Vinci. And she's always been this wonderful person. Well, that's not what everybody was saying. I was around back then. I remember that people couldn't stand her. They called her Eeyore. They didn't like anything about her. No Neck Beck. I remember all those nicknames and what people said. And now the very same people are like, oh, Becky, you're so amazing. Jesus Christ. Becky was more hated than Pete's. Well, people felt about Becky the way they feel about Pete's, you know? And as far as Amberlynn saying, oh, I get lower views when you're on the video. Well, all you have to do is look at the analytics. It's not that difficult. But did she say that she didn't know how much money Amberlynn had? Or that she's guessing about how much Amberlynn was making? She was making around blah, blah, blah. Didn't you two have a joint checking account? If you had a joint account, how did you not know how much money was coming into the household? If you could access that information. Or did Amberlynn have a separate individual account and then transferred money from that account into the joint account, and Becky was so stupid that she had only a joint account with Amberlynn and not her own individual account? I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time here.
So excited. Like it's just so shocking. But like,
so would she like control things that you said? Like how, and if she did, like how often did that happen?
It happened all the time, especially if we were vlogging or doing like a sit down video. Like there was a lot of pausing and being like, okay, so don't say this. Why don't you try to say it more peppy? Why can't you act like you're actually having a good time? And it's like, because I've told you over and over, time and time again, I just really don't want to do these things. And she's like, okay, yeah, but you're my employee.
Okay.
So
what?
You're going to be in the video.
God.
Well, that's
so
not
whenever you
inaccurate.
See me vlogging, I never wanted to do that.
Once you and her, like once you left her, at what point did the fog start to lift and you really started seeing things like very clearly?
I also started like coming across T channels and videos of Amber being mean to Beck for 20 minutes straight. And I would watch these things, and I would watch these react channels that I was not allowed to watch while I was with her. These things started opening my eyes, and I was just like, oh my God. How?
Yeah, but you were there though. You were present. You were living for a long time with two people who were your old friends from high school. Your family didn't like her. Your family was around her and they saw the way she treated you. Your family went on vacation with her. Your friends didn't like her, and you're saying that you had to go back and watch clip channels to finally realize that Amberlynn was cruel to you? I don't get it. I'm sorry. There are two. I know she has said this before, but I find it very, very, very difficult to swallow.
I was right here, and I realized I was disassociating through 90% of it.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
did you say you weren't allowed to watch the reaction channels?
Right. Yeah, no. Like whenever she would watch it, she would just watch it by herself on her laptop. She wouldn't have me watch or anything. No, she didn't.
Did you ever try?
I knew if I would try, she would know because she kept tabs on my phone all the time.
Oh my God, the control. Oh my God.
And she'd monitor your text messages and stuff?
Oh yeah, she would go through everything.
Oh my God.
She knew everything.
God damn.
And I couldn't go through none of her stuff because she said she had private stuff on there in her private journal that she wrote in every day.
Oh my God, I wish somebody would. I wish somebody would go through my phone and say, oh, but you can't touch mine. You can't look at my phone. Are you fucking kidding? Really? Okay.
And I was never allowed to see what was in that journal. Never. And she kept it for years.
So it's
she probably
for
still
me
keeps
and
it.
not.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be looking at her journal. Nobody should look at somebody's journal. That is a massive violation of privacy. No, nobody should be looking at anybody's journal, anybody's private thoughts. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I'm sorry, Becky, but that's not, a negative against Amber Lynn. No, that is private. Forget it.
For me. Did they monitor your text messages to where it's like, well, what did you mean when you told her this? What did you mean when you sent this? What do they mean when they're telling you that? Did they do that as well? Or she do that as well?
Yeah. Like that was actually what our last huge fight was about, is because she went through my text messages with Eric and Ricky and was mad that she wasn't a part of that
group chat,
which we had for years. Even before we knew her, we had that group chat. And so she was pretending.
No Name gifting 10 memberships. Thank you so much, No Name. I appreciate you. Congratulations to whoever got a membership. I can't see it in StreamYard. But Mazel Tov to all of you. Enjoy your memberships. Thank you so much, No Name. Very generous as always. And let's continue.
To be mean to them, demanding that we put her in that chat. And they were like, well, why don't we just make one for all four of us? And she's like, no, I want to be in that chat. Because she thought that if she got access and got added to that chat, that she would be able to see everything that we had talked about prior. So she wanted to be able to go through it as much as she wanted for years, just to see.
Let's see what Crystal Allman has to say. I can understand how you can be working 40 hours a week at minimum wage and then seeing your loaf girlfriend make 6 figures being a cow and not understand the value of $1, but she's had time to learn. I agree. Yeah. And if anyone in that household had a right to be angry and bitter, it was Ricky, because he was the only one who was working outside of the house, and he had to come home to this fucking shrieking playpen of anxiety and people comparing mental illnesses like Pokemon cards and coming up with 1,000 excuses for why they couldn't work. So anyway, thank you, Crystal Allman, for the super chat. I appreciate it.
Because she was so dead set that everybody constantly talked about her behind her back. That's the one thing that sparked me wanting to definitely leave her.
During Destiny's, when she came out with the tea the first time, they were on a live and she called Amber. Destiny had mentioned Beck told me to call her. That's not the question. The question is that Amber said, I know damn well she wasn't going to talk about me. And because everybody knows nobody knows what Beck has put me through. And I don't know. Everybody has been trying to figure out what the hell she was talking about.
Me too. I'm like, what did I put you through? Besides literally taking care of you, bathing you, feeding you. Like, what did I put you through? I went and got you McDonald's anytime you wanted. I went to the store for you every day. I did everything you told me to do 24/7. It's like, what do you mean? What did I do?
I will say this to kind of touch on Beck's thing with Amber controlling the phone. She did that once, actually twice with me. I had a little group thing on this site that went away. It was this little anime site, and she wanted to be a part of the group, and when people wouldn't agree with her, she would be like, oh, I don't like them, they need to be out of this group thing. That thing didn't last. It ended up tanking because it was the early 2000s. But the one thing that I remember is that one day I was getting ready to go to school, and I went to school, and my friend came up to me pissed, extremely mad, and I was like, what's wrong? And she's like, did you give Amber my number? And I was like, no, I did. Never would I ever do that to you. No, because I knew how they were. This was another friend, and I knew how they were. And when I got home from school that day, I asked Amber, what, did you get in my phone and get their number to text them? And she admitted she did. She went in my phone, got their number, and texted them.
That's pathetic.
Bad stuff, just to drive them away from me.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly just think that she wants to isolate her partners to herself. She doesn't want her partners to have anybody on the outside.
So when we first started talking, again, I was 15, and all my friends were in relationships. So I was like, oh, what am I doing wrong? As a teenager, that social pressure. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, it was fine. It was like a normal conversation. Again, we weren't in person. I met her on Moco Space. All of it, in the beginning, it took her no time at all, towards the beginning, to start getting manipulative. As an adult, I see every time she tried to because I wanted to talk to her on the phone, because I never really got to, and I was excited every single time, and she would hold those as to get me to either be home and not do anything. That way I was waiting like a puppy dog for these phone calls. And she would always say well, I'm sleeping in I'm sleeping in the not living room, she said the kitchen at one point at her foster parents' house before they built her own room. And she's like, I can't because they'll get mad, it's late. And as an adult, I'm like, as a kid, I was like, oh, okay, parents, whatever. as it went on, it was just like more of, what are you saying on your MySpace? Why are you saying that on your MySpace? I want you to say that you're with someone. What are you doing? Why can't you text me at school? My phone had a bad battery, so it would just die at school. Then I started to, when I, as I was with her, I developed anxiety really, really badly. She admitted to me with text messaging and everything like that she cheated on me with a girl in the hot tub. Like, she was in the hot tub and she made out with, her school buddy, like not once, a few times. And she told me over text message.
For sure. Like, she would.
Wait, what do you mean? What are you talking about? She cheated on you with some girl in a hot tub. How the fuck did Amberlynn Reed get into a goddamn hot tub? And when did this happen? When did she leave the apartment unsupervised? And again, if you see that your teenage daughter is going through all kinds of shit, why don't you kick the woman who's causing all the grief out of your home? Didn't she say that she was 15 when they got together and she was 17 when they broke up? So Amberlynn Reed was living in that apartment for 2 years, and Casey's mother didn't. Okay. All right. Sure.
I get it. She would be so flirty with everybody. But like the second she thought that you were being flirty or anything, like, and I wasn't ever a flirty person, but it's like if she would be like if I had a female friend, do you have a crush on her or something? And I'm like, no, I'm not like you.
Like,
I think she's stuck in being a teenager. She's never.
You all are
out of it.
She
Yeah.
says
you're all stuck in being teenagers. All of you are. All of you. All of you are incredibly immature. All of you don't know how to be in a relationship. All of you are pathetic. All of you are jumping on this bandwagon of making money based on a relationship that ended years ago. All of you are embarrassing. Every single one of you. Except there are two exceptions, Crystal and Jade. Those are the only two people who aren't. Everybody else is a complete fucking embarrassment. And the only reason I am doing this goddamn stream is to make money, obviously, and because whatever happens with these idiots makes absolutely no difference to me or anybody else, and it does not impact our lives one way or the other. It is just a fascinating look at a bunch of women in their 30s who act like they're still 15 fucking years old, and it is ridiculous. It's embarrassing.
that she went to from foster home to foster home, that they were mostly terrible, group home to group home. But you have told me, it hasn't been recently, but you have told me that that's not necessarily true, correct?
So I don't know how many foster homes she went into. All I know is the one that she stayed at when I met her, and the one that she ended up aging out of. But she's told me she's went to a lot of foster homes, and I don't have proof whether she did or she didn't. Yeah. But I know that from an early age, she did start to go because of, her parents. But I know more so about the one that she remained at until she aged out, until she moved to Oklahoma.
And that's the one that built her rooms and paid for her phone and took her to Disney World and stuff, correct?
Yeah.
Wait, took her to Disney World. She told me that she had to stay home in the garage while the house got defogged while they went to Disney World.
How embarrassing.
No.
Never have I ever heard that.
Oh, that's what she told me.
No.
What a stupid
That
thing to
also
lie
made
about.
me so sad. That was one of the things that just broke my heart for her.
Has Amber ever threatened either of you behind the scenes to stay quiet?
Well, I mean, definitely whenever I was like, just stop talking about me or I'm going to go, I'm going to sue you, which I had no idea what I was doing. I just wanted to shut her up. And she was just like, well, if you don't talk about me, then I won't talk about you. But if you
That was one of the only times I've heard Becky use the word whenever properly in a sentence. And thank you, Becky. Thank you for pointing up Becky. Thank you, Raven, for pointing that out, because that's something that drives me crazy, is the whole whenever thing. When people use the word whenever incorrectly, it just bothers me.
talk about me, I'll sue you too. And I'm just like, whatever. But then she wouldn't stop talking about me.
She sent me a whole bunch of messages trying to get me to take my video down when I put it up. A whole bunch. And she's like, I took down mine, so you need to take down yours. And at that point, when she did all that, I was a whole different person. I already been through a ringer with her.
But something else that always really confused me is if you had supposedly done any of that, then why was she even trying to contact you after the fact? Especially to ask you about sex. You know, honestly, that should have been my first clue right there. Like, no sane person would do that.
So what at first was the thing that made you go, okay, let's give it a try kind of thing?
For me, it was really just like, you know, a friendship. And she was funny and somebody to talk to. And she was very easy. And that's because I realized that now she was masking me to make me comfortable, to make me go, oh, I can really connect with this person.
No, I'm sorry. If I go to somebody's home and it is in a state of absolute filth and it stinks because the animals are all going to the bathroom inside the house all the time and the cats are peeing. I mean, listen, for anybody, I've said this before, for anybody who's ever owned a cat that has gone outside the litter box, you know what that smells like. You know. And it is impossible to get that smell out. So if I walked up to somebody's house and they had cats and I could smell that ammonia hit me in the face, absolutely not. That would be the end of it. The fact that somebody maintains that level of uncleanliness, the fact that they live in such filthy surroundings that they can't do anything for themselves, no, absolutely not.
But then once we actually got together, it's like, you know, I started seeing we really didn't have anything in common, like at all.
Man, I hate repeating myself here with it. I was a child again, and I just wanted, what attracted me to her was the fact that I finally found someone who actually liked okay, well, you all know I'm trying to like girls, and like I was starting to get to know her, and yeah, like Beck said, funny, easy to talk to. You know, I was happy to be wanted in that way. Like that was the main thing too. I was so happy that someone wanted me in a romantic way.
I also, I mean, not in the same way, but I sort of get what you mean. Like I was lonely and I didn't have a lot of friends. Literally the only friends I had was Eric and Ricky. I didn't go out to the bars. I didn't have dating sites and stuff like that, you know? So it's like, I met her by chance and I'd started making this friendship and getting this connection with her. And it's like, well, you have to date me or I'm getting out the door. Like I've never felt this way in my life. I honestly, ever since I was little, had this deep-rooted feeling that I would just never really truly be happy. So that's why I just let myself have these awful partners, because Amber wasn't my only awful partner.
Yeah.
And it's just like really embarrassing to be tied to her because I had a very, very good high school.
Okay, so if Amberlynn is not the only awful partner you had, why aren't you talking about them? Be fair, Becky. If somebody else put you through the ringer, and I'm assuming, is she talking about Nina? Or, you know, Nina who ended up with, what's her name? Crystal. Why don't you talk about Nina too? Why don't you go into detail, embarrassing, excruciating detail about what these other people put you through too? Oh, it's because Amberlynn is the moneymaker. Because Amberlynn is the breadwinner, right? That's who brings in the donos. If you went online and you talked about Nina, nobody would give a shit, right? Even though it would advance your victim narrative. But nobody would care. This is the problem with you two. You don't understand that yeah, I think so, Breeze. I don't think that outside of this little ecosystem that you have going, I don't think you understand how badly this is all coming off. I don't think that you're aware of it unless you go on the forums or you go on Reddit, which I don't know if they do, but it's not a good look.
School friend contacted me not too long ago who was like, I've kind of known about this for a while, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. It's not that bad anymore. It's just more or less like I was embarrassed of the situation I was in back then and how she made me look. Like I know she was really, really hell-bent on making me have the worst angles possible. Just trying to make me look bad. And then
the way it's affected me, especially after the allegations, it's just like, okay, I dated someone who had an ex or an ex-friend with benefits, whatnot, what have you. Who really didn't like that she was dropping him because she was dating me, right? So he Googled my name and brought up all of this, of this, and sent it to her. And she knew about it in a way. Like I after all this came out, a lot of people started to recognize me, and it was surreal because the one I dated before would kind of throw this in my face. She didn't want me to talk about any of this that was going on. I didn't want to talk about any of it was going on either. Like, you know, but she would really kind of throw it in my face of like, well, you know, you don't understand how many messages I get from people because of the whole Amber situation you went through. It's like, excuse me, this part of my life only stays here. Yeah,
I mean, that happens. That happens. you know? And that is going to happen to anybody who was involved with Amber. And I heard, what's it called? Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. I mean, this is really the only content that's worth discussing as far as I'm concerned. On my channel anyway. Everybody's free to discuss whatever they like on their channels. But really, what else is there to say? It's just like content creators squabbling with each other, content creators accusing each other of all kinds of things with no proof, content creators trying to drag other content creators into the fucking octagon when there's no interest whatsoever, content creators going IRL, and then you've got this bullshit because Amberlynn and Foodie are just not that interesting anymore. And people have tried turning other fatties into the new Amberlynn and Foodie, and it just isn't working. And it's all just a big mess and a big clusterfuck and a big bore. But hey, if Becky is going to continue doing these stupid live streams, then fuck it, I'll cover them. Why not? Everything else is super depressing. This is just idiotic.
Job doesn't know about it. She really...
Oh, that's what I was going to say. So basically, I saw a quote from, oh lordy, it's Jordy. What an asshole that guy is. What an asshole. He's like, well, if you're going to be with Amberlynn, of course, everybody's going to turn your life upside down. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember exactly what he said. But he was basically like, oh, so your family's going to be contacted and this is going to happen and that's going to happen. Well, that's shitty. I mean, I know that Jordy has no limits. And some of these other people have no limits. They'll call your mama, your daddy. They'll call your work. They'll call your school. They'll try to get you fired. They'll try to go after you. And that is disgusting. And then they have the unmitigated gall to go on their channels and say, oh, well, we don't think that this person is right for you. So we were just trying to help you. No, you weren't. You were trying to go IRL because now there are no limits. There are no boundaries. There's no nothing. You can't stay on the fucking internet and critique somebody. Now you have to try to ruin their lives and the lives of all the people around them. And it's gross. It's disgusting. And I hate it. And I want absolutely nothing to fucking do with it. Nothing.
Really put a red target on my back because of this.
Yeah, for sure. I had worried about that. I was like, I wonder how he fares. Like, I know most of everybody believes you, but it's just like having that on you at all, even if only one person believes it, is just so awful and detrimental.
This will always be there. So will my video. So it goes two ways.
Oh my God, you're reading my mind. Because I was thinking earlier when they were talking about the burning house analogy, I was jumping out the window and Jade was crawling in and had no idea.
Right?
Oh, you're like, hey, this is pretty nice. I like this place. And it's like, yeah, the
Oh, bull fucking shit. Jade had no idea. Bull fucking shit. Jade knew exactly who Amberlynn was. What Jade didn't know, because you don't know until you're in it, you don't know until you're targeted by it, is how crazy the people in the community are and to what lengths they'll go to try and turn your life upside down. You literally cannot understand it until you experience it, and then you sit back and you say, wow, these people really think that, these human beings who are online are basically like mice and we're all cats. And we're here batting their lives around, or they're Sims and we can control them and whatever. Of course Jade knew who Amberlynn was. Of course she did. Come on now. Let's not be naive here.
The upstairs is on fire, but
did you ever try and warn Jade about any of it?
I didn't know how. I didn't know what to do. I was just like,
I agree with
you.
you.
Have to learn and find out for herself. But there was no way she didn't know. I swear that she had to have known who Amber was.
Of course she did.
Reaching out or anything, she had to have. I think she knew what she was getting herself into. I just think she didn't know how bad it was going to be, and then realized that it wasn't worth it, and she bailed too. I don't know too much. All I know is that at one point she did admit to Amber that she knew before, but she didn't say much about it. She didn't say how she knew or anything like that. So I'm saying, if she's saying that she knew a little bit, then she definitely had to know everything. Like I know that she had told Amber herself that she had commented or something. Like, I know she was in one of the lives at one point, and that's how people picked up on her. Like the Not So Jaded or whatever.
I kind of feel grateful that I wasn't in, we had the era, not era, but I was in the time of the smartphones weren't really still a thing. It was still like the keyboard phones. It like she tried. She would try, like I said, with the whole like getting my phone while I was getting ready for school, and then because I used to role play, back on MySpace.
Anytime that you see somebody online and you see that certain parasocial relationships are being built, and the audience thinks that they know the content creator, there will always be people, strangers, who are poisonous do-gooders who think, oh, I know what to do. I have the solution to this person's problem. And they'll start getting in their DMs, or they'll start doing whatever they do. And I think that Rachel is right. I think Jade was like, well, I can come in because clearly all these other women who were in Amberlynn's life were enablers. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to crack the whip, I'm going to get her to lose weight. Because I think that Amberlynn knew that Jade was athletic. She knew that Jade had been athletic in college. And I think that Jade bought the line, hook, line, and sinker, that Amberlynn really wanted to lose weight, and she wanted to go on vacation, and she wanted to be able to do normal stuff. And Jade stupidly fell for it and ended up moving in and realized after 2 years that it was never going to happen. Never. That Amberlynn is never going to change, that Amberlynn is too demanding. But again, it was something that she had to experience on her own. She learned the Becky lesson.
And I was role playing with somebody, and I didn't know she was looking over my shoulder, and I was like, doing a message back, and she got very upset because it got the role play was like the characters were getting together, right? She got so mad. I didn't know she was reading over my shoulder. She took my phone from my hand and threw it against the wall, and it broke.
This is so childish. I need to run to the bathroom. I will be right back. All right, I'm back. Let's go.
Hated that she had to make everything about her, no matter what the situation. Everything had to revolve around her. Everything. Even if it was like something going on in my family's. Oh, we got to make sure that there's a spot for her, somewhere that's comfortable.
Yeah.
She doesn't like that kind of music. Can we play this kind of music? That sort of thing. It had happened, like it always happened in the car, like 9 times out of 10 it was her music being played. Every now and then she'd let me play mine, but it was usually hers being played. But yeah, like at get-togethers and stuff, she always wanted to be the one in control of the music we were listening to, the games we were playing.
Of course.
Like she had to make all the choices. It was like that 24/7.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
What Amber wants to do.
One of her qualities, God.
Yeah.
She was always like making friends online that were at least 4 to 5, almost 8 years older than me, and they were always like couples.
What?
Oh, I never.
Yeah, but you were a kid, Casey. You were a kid. You were a teenager. And did I hear correctly earlier? Did I already say this? I don't remember. Actually, I did. Never mind. I'm not going to repeat myself. Let's continue.
Never said this.
Wait, what?
What? No. What did you just say?
I said she was always making friends online, like Moco Space and whatnot. And they were at least like 4 to 5, sometimes 6 to 8 years older than me.
How old were you when this happened?
When it started happening, 16, 17.
Oh my God.
So 21.
And she was doing what? Making friends with couples on Mocha Space?
Yeah. So one time the couple lived across the street from us.
Great.
We could see their apartment and they could see ours.
That's great.
So what would happen?
Like,
Well, yeah,
Nothing.
were there
Eventually,
expectations?
eventually they saw her, like she couldn't like hide the mask forever, and they didn't want to talk to her anymore. And a
Right.
lot of them, like, when I would sometimes be allowed to talk to them, or I talked to them, they started liking me more because I was a kid. God, I can't believe I got into all that as a child.
God, this is so sad, man. This is so sad. Like all this attention seeking behavior coming from, someone who was extremely insecure for obvious reasons. I mean, I'm not going to go into the whole tale of woe about being bounced around in foster care and the drug addict parents. We've heard it a million times. That's all this is, but dragging Casey into it when she was a kid, that's fucked up. That's just not right. And again, if Amberlynn had been mobile, it would have been very, very dangerous to keep on getting involved. I mean, it's dangerous already to constantly. She trusts too many people online. That's the problem. She's way, way, way too trusting of people that she's never met. I mean, I don't know how many of you have been following the saga of Alexis, who is probably the shittiest ex-friend on the planet. I mean, I can think of a few others, but another one who's just making hay off of dropping DMs and being a royal bitch and going on and on and on. She's horrible. Alexis is awful. She is one of the worst side characters to come into the community that I can think of. So that's the risk when you have no life outside of the internet and you trust people and then they stab you in the back. It sucks.
Child, but like,
Wait, so was she trying to get
like
partners for you?
Yeah,
I don't
like,
know. I don't know. She just wanted
Lincoln?
to make friends. I guess she wanted to make friends that were, lesbian like her, but she never met up with any of them. The only one was Crystal. I forgot how,
this
Like, yeah, the
explains
only one
Libby
Crystal.
so fucking much right now.
But she would make friends. Like, there was a few that were like closer to my age, but all of them were adults. Like, none of them were teenagers like me. All of them were adults, but Amber was also an adult.
Well,
But
there
she
you
would make
go.
these friends, like these couple friends, and we never hung out with them or nothing like that. But like a lot of them stopped talking to her because she became too much or too demanding and stuff like that.
What a shock.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or they
Yeah.
started liking me more.
And that's just weird.
Great.
And
Okay,
I just thought it was normal because I was like, well, yeah, like I don't have, lesbian friends or a couple of friends at school because we were kids, there's not
Right.
really that. But like, yeah, there are a lot of them she would meet. Like some didn't live in
Same
town, some
breeze.
didn't, some were like in different states. But
I agree.
yeah, she would
I'm
make a
the
lot
same.
of friends online, a lot of couple friends online. I don't
I'm
like,
not-
I don't know, like it just happened to be that way. But
So you don't think maybe she was seeking it out?
I never read her messages or anything like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you weren't allowed to.
See,
like-
exactly. I get it. I never could read anything that she was saying to anybody either. I had no idea.
But she was
So
a
I-
local-faced queen, so
I think she always, no matter who she was dating, was always sort of talking to somebody else in the background at all times. And nobody had access to her phone, so it's not like any of us would know. So what you're saying about that whole mocha space, her making friends, and then you not knowing what she's saying to them, like all of that makes so much sense.
yeah, she was
That-
on local space a lot.
Do you feel like Amberlynn behaves the way she does out of like calculation? She plans it out. She's purposeful about it. Do you think it's like an unintentional, innate quality in her, and she's just naturally controlling and manipulative?
I think a little bit of both. I think there's sometimes she is completely unaware of it and swears up and down that she doesn't. But then I also
I was reminded of something. Do you guys remember Shaquana Jefferson? You remember her? Years ago, she made the point, because Shaquana Jefferson also spent time in foster care. And she made the point that when you're in foster care, and you're living in a group home, whether you're living with a private family or in a group home, that you become very conscious of what you do and do not own. And Shaquana used this, Shannon used this as an excuse for her hoarding, like why she would go to Old Navy and buy like 20 of the same t-shirt, and why she was sitting in front of bins and bins and bins of clothes and other crap that she bought. And she would say that it was from her time in foster care, where you become really possessive of everything because you don't own anything. Nothing belongs to you. You're a ward of the state. And so none of this behavior surprises me. It really does explain Amberlynn's hoarding. It explains, her insecurity, reaching out to strangers, trying to get attention, because that's the other thing. You live in a group home, you're with a bunch of other kids. Everybody's trying to get the attention of the adult. It's quite sad, but there does come a point as you get older that you have to figure out a way to cope and set all that, not forget about it, but deal with it and not allow it to ruin your entire life. Let's continue.
Know that there's times that she does it on purpose and she knows exactly what she's doing.
I do agree with Beck. It's a little bit of both. I think a lot of it is learned behavior from foster care and her, her parents when she was young. Because she wanted, I can't imagine what she went through when her parents were doing stuff when they weren't supposed to, but I can only imagine that she really was seeking their attention like any child did. So it was kind of like a lot of this behavior she learned because she wanted her parents' love and affection and care.
There you go.
And when she was in foster care, it was kind of like before she got to that foster home, it was kind of like fight for the attention, with amongst all these kids who just wanted love and affection from these adults that failed them in life. And now that she's older, I think she realized that it got her. I think the time that she would look back and go, this is wrong, has way surpassed, because now she's learned how far it's taken her. Look at her channel, look at her YouTube, look at how much she used to get paid or even currently still gets paid. All of the stuff that she's learned from getting, from then to now has gotten her to where she is now. So why would she? And I don't think she knows how to be any other way now. I really don't.
I don't think so either. I think this is who she is. Because even if she were to change in any meaningful way, nobody would buy it. Everybody would accuse her of lying. Everybody would accuse her of manipulating. Everybody, she has developed a way to make money off of an audience that hates her. She caught lightning in a bottle. She's been riding the wave ever since. And why should she change? What is she going to change to that would be convincing in any way when you've got the reaction channels, you've got Reddit, she doesn't have the subreddits anymore. Those are gone. But you've got people following her every move. You've got these insane Facebook groups. You've got all of these orbiters and weirdos. And then what you have is people who see how much money she makes and how much money the former girlfriends make or the orbiters make. And so they slip into her DMs hoping, well, maybe I'll get lucky. And maybe I too will have a story to tell that I can milk for money on YouTube. It's all disgusting. It's a horrible way to live.
I heard something about timers. Beck, please tell me you weren't on a timer with her. Please.
She put me on a timer for a lot of things, hanging out with Eric and Ricky in the same house. God, my families, she would be like, you can go to your families, but you have to be back by this time. And if I wasn't, then it was an argument and there was a timer for whenever I had to pick lint off her back. She says this has happened once every 6 months. She would have, this happened multiple times, all the time for various days. It was kind of like an everyday thing because it helped her anxiety. She would have me sit behind her and fake pick lint off the back of her shirt.
So fake
and then
pick
brush her
lint.
Shoulders, and she would set a timer from 30 minutes to an hour. It was usually about 45 minutes was the typical that she would have me sit there and do that. She said it gave her ASMR.
Oh my God.
Yes, she knew I didn't like to do it. My arms would get tired really quick.
Yeah,
I agree. It is insane.
She knew I didn't like doing it, but she would hold it over. She would guilt trip me. You know how bad my anxiety is. Please, please help me. And it would make me feel awful. So yeah, I would give in.
I would have to, but see, I didn't get a timer set. I had to count. When you would do that whole rub their back or whatever, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. I had to count. And
by the way, speaking of inheritances and people being left in the lurch and so on, have you guys seen that apparently when Noel and Zachary Michael broke up, that Noel's friends set up a GoFundMe for him, and quite a few people donated to help Noel get back on his feet. And then, of course, Zach had to set up, I guess, an Amazon wish list to replace the stuff that Noel took with him, which was basically all the kitchen utensils and everything else. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? I wonder why Noel needed money to help him get on his feet when Noel was employed outside of the home. And Noel was basically, again, he was the caretaker in the house, wasn't he? He was the cook. Noel looked after Zach. Noel handled the insurance. Noel handled a lot of stuff, a lot of errands and stuff for Zach. So how interesting that we see, how interesting that we see a parallel, because I'm seeing a direct parallel, which is what is making me crack up about this story. And I, for one, am very glad to see that Noel is doing so well. Good for him.
And then like she would do it for me too, but she would count and it would be so much shorter and so much quicker. But if the TV was on and I was doing it and she felt like my hands weren't like grippy enough, like the pressure wasn't enough, she would get mad that I was distracted by the TV and turn it off.
That sounds about right.
Oh my God, Jesus.
It gives me the egg.
And it's like she said that she would like rub my arm or whatever. Yeah, it would be every now and then. I would ask you, could you please, because I'm having trouble going to sleep. She would do it for like 2 minutes, if that, and I would quit before I'd even be asleep. And it hardly ever happened. Because whenever she would do it, she would complain about it, and then she would quit doing it within like the first minute or two.
Yeah, because Becky, you were the help. I mean, come on. Can we please drop this pretense? We all know that the relationship was fake by your own admission and by Amber Lynn's admission. The engagement was fake. The relationship was fake. Everything was fake. All of it was fake. The friendship with Eric and Ricky was fake. Not on Becky's part, but on Amber Lynn's part. Ricky couldn't stand her. He hated her. They would fight all the time, which I don't blame him for. And so everything that we saw, I've warned everybody over and over again, what you see in this square, in this screen, don't believe everything that you see. A lot of it is fake, especially people who try to craft like vlogs and lifestyle videos and all that, family videos, to make you think that their life is perfect, Instagram perfect. It isn't. How many family channels have we seen fall apart over the past several years? How many people have been exposed? I mean, maybe not to the level of Ruby Frankie, but how many times have we seen that behind the scenes, the kids were miserable, the parents were fighting, they end up divorcing, everything goes to, the Ace family is a great example of this. They're actually broke. All the stuff that you see in the videos is leased. They don't own anything. They don't own their own property, their cars, or any of the stuff that they show off. Or they do these hauls of luxury bags, and then the minute that the video is filmed, they take the bag back to the store because they can't afford it. So, Amber Lynn was like the low rent version of that. It was all fake. All of it was fake. And it's not difficult to imagine that she faked it to give this impression that even though she was huge, she was living her best life. We all could see that that wasn't true.
Did you guys ever try to be like, okay, well, I did it for 5 minutes, so you have to do it for 5 minutes?
There was no asking her to do it the same amount of time, because she would just be like, but it doesn't do the same thing for you. This is helping you with my anxiety. This is my ASMR.
My God.
All you're doing is just wanting me to repay you a favor.
I did eventually try to do that. Like, it was like, okay, I did it, this many counts. Can you do it this many counts? Or, can you please do it for this amount of time if I do it extra for you?
So you had to play with her as well.
Yeah, but it wasn't long. It was just like a few things. Not like, as I've heard that people got it for hours and hours and hours, but it was never called choosy with me. It was just like, maybe like 5-10 minutes. It wasn't long.
You got lucky. She didn't have the money to buy thousands upon thousands of the same object and have you sift through it for hours.
Okay, so my question still remains. Did she ever try that with you? Did use what she was claiming to have at the time to get out of everything?
Yes, all the time. To help with anything. She was too depressed. She couldn't get out of the bed. There was this one time whenever I had a lot of groceries to carry in, and I had asked her to come out and help me, but she said that she thought.
Oh, speaking of influencers, did you guys see that now Casey Anthony wants to be an influencer? That she's on TikTok and she wants to be like an LGBTQ. I don't even know what she wants to do, but Casey fucking Anthony wants to be an influencer. Isn't that something? The complete lack of shame. And yeah, influencers are huge fakes. Absolutely huge fakes. Can't take any of them seriously.
Thought she saw a ghost in the hallway and was too scared to come help me. So I had to carry it all in by myself. She didn't even believe in ghosts at that time.
Casey, how about you? Did she ever try that with you as well, all the way back then? Which is, I can't do that because of this. I can't do that because, this is this, that kind of thing.
No, but she started to have anxieties with me. But a part of me, like, I don't know, like, how she is now with anxiety, if it's true or not. But it just started.
A legal advocate, huh? A legal advocate. That lawyer that pulled off the miracle, the courtroom miracle, the biggest one in the past, 10, 15 years, that's the one who needs to have a TikTok account talking about being a legal advocate, because I still don't know how the fuck he did it. But a legal advocate, How to Get Away with Murder. Wasn't that a show? The Viola Davis show, the Shonda Rhimes show? Yeah. All right.
Started to be weird that, like, when I would have really bad anxiety, suddenly, like, she started to have really bad anxiety too.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because she didn't have anxiety or any of this while with me. She didn't have any, like, everything she talks about now, she never said any of that. She never had any of that. Ever.
And that's why, because there's another thing that she does is she'll go to Google and she'll look something up and be like, oh, I have that for sure. Like, she convinced herself that she was having brain aneurysm anytime she had like a sharp pain in her head. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I get those too. They're just like ice pick headaches. Calm down. You're not dying.
Were you ever there for the ASMR videos that she did during your era?
The only one I can specifically remember about, and it just blew my mind. I'm like, are you serious? Was the magazine flipping one. When she would just flip the pages. I'm just like, what's happening? I'm not going to question it anymore. I don't know what else you're going to do. I don't care. Don't let me know. But I definitely knew about the magazine flipping. That was really weird. I get what you mean by blocking it out. There's so much of the relationship that I've blocked out, things I've completely forgot about that I've had to recently dig back up and be like, oh my God, But I definitely know that she would want me to be on her side no matter what, even if she was absolutely in the wrong.
Yeah, but don't all people in relationships want that from their partner? Right or wrong, you ride or die, whatever. It's amazing to me how selective Becky's memory is, and how Becky's memory is refreshed the more views she gets on YouTube and the more money she makes on YouTube. It's really an extraordinary phenomenon. It really is, because she wasn't zombified throughout their entire relationship. So this is something that I've also made a note of. It's fascinating to observe.
And if I was on anybody else's side, it was hell to pay. Like, How dare I think she was wrong? I'm supposed to be her girlfriend. I'm supposed to be on her side no matter what. And that was one of the rules, is like, you have to be on my side no matter what.
Yeah.
My final thought, you know what? Yeah, I do. My final thought is eat it. See what happens when you fuck with people. See what happens when you abuse, when you mess with people in such a bad way. Mm-hmm. You can't keep them apart. Like, you can't. So eat it. There you go.
Absolutely.
The truth always comes out, right?
So Amber was clearly in this live stream because she took to her community tab to post a response to all of this.
Of course she did.
Without promoting her members only live streams, of course. She says, after thinking about it and getting the opinion from family, friends, my therapist, and all of the stream queens I love and adore, I have decided I will no longer be silent in a situation where silence isn't the answer and silence is only causing me pain and allowing stagnancy in a place where I want to heal, grow, and move on. I will share my side, but I will only be doing that in my members only live streams.
Oh.
If you want to join, click the link below.
Oh, there you go, Amber. Good girl. Good girl. So if you want to get my response, you're going to have to pay that ridiculous amount of money that she charges for her members, for her membership, which is such a ripoff. Yeah, fucking monetize the fuck out of this. Why not? You're running out of shit to talk about on your channel. Nobody cares about COVID. Nobody wants to watch you play bingo. So yeah, fuck it. Draw it out. Why not?
But I want to make it very clear, this will not be a place to bash Beck, to insult Beck, or to invalidate Beck. It is going to be a place for me to be accountable in the wrongdoings I have done by being open about them, sharing what I did, and sharing what I could have done differently. It is also going to be a place for me to share my point of view of situations that I remember differently, because as wrong as I was in a lot of situations with Beck, it is wrong to lie and exaggerate things that are not true. I will not be doing this to be believed. I will not be doing this to have more people on my side. This isn't about that. This is about finally allowing myself to publicly be accountable and stand up for myself.
Yeah, sure.
Two things can happen at once. I can be accountable for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, while also clarifying that L, M, and O, P are not true. Do not let those two things get mixed up, please. As much room as Beck is getting to share their truth, I am now ready to share mine. Without the added, well, guess what Beck did? Because again, that is not what this is about. After sharing what I did in last night's stream, bawling my eyes out, and sharing my truth, I actually feel lighter. Better. I feel okay. My mental health has been so bad that it has actually been scaring me, and I realize now it is because of the silence. I have been holding onto so much that wants to be let out gracefully, so I am going to allow myself to do that. Member live streams are always held on Tuesday nights, but if I plan on going live again before that, I will be sure to let you know. I hope to see you there. Warning, there will be a lot of tears, but for each one, I hope it is just one step closer to healing for everyone in this situation.
The drama. Well, that was a thing that happened. Okay, Amberlynn. Okay, Amberlynn. Good way to plug your memberships. You know, keep the drama going on your channel, but only if people pay for it. Obviously, those members-only live streams are going to end up on the reaction channels. And this is going to continue to be dragged out. It was only a matter of time before she said, fuck it, why are these bitches going to make all the money? I'm going to hop on this train too. So, whatever. It's all ridiculous. And I'm going to close out with one final thing. So, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Hassan Piker got banned from Twitch for a whopping 24 hours for encouraging the assassination of a sitting United States senator. He insists that's not what he said. That is, in fact, what he exactly said. There is no context that makes it look better. And then, you know, he was back, and Ethan Klein ran a loop of the content, what is it called? The content nuke that he made on Hassan, where Hassan is saying all that terrible stuff on his streams, you know, supporting terrorists and bringing terrorists on his streams and spreading terrorist propaganda. And Ethan got banned for 30 days on Twitch for running Hassan's words on his channel. Yeah. So I think that we have yet another example of how ridiculous Twitch is and how their terms of service, we all knew that their terms of service are not applied equally, that Hassan can literally get away with anything on Twitch, and he will never have to pay the price. And all this strikes me as very odd, considering that Jeff Bezos, because you know Amazon owns Twitch, has made an announcement that at the Washington Post, on the editorial page, they're going to be featuring more conservative voices. And meanwhile, he's got this cesspool going on over at Twitch that has actually made it into the mainstream media. And you've got this thing going on that's crazy. I don't get it. But yeah, Twitch is awful, and I agree. I agree. I think the Twitch should be shut down too. It's not fit for purpose, not anymore. All right, you guys, I appreciate you guys. Or if Twitch, if not shutting Twitch down, then turn it back into a strictly gaming platform and get rid of all the political content. The political content is not working. And, you know, they had that apocalypse that lasted for a brief period of time. I don't think it's still going on. Twitch came out with some stupid statement about how, oh, we're going to be making it easier for advertisers to pick and choose where their ads are placed. They did what YouTube did after the YouTube ad apocalypse. But it's, you know, it's not, it's just not working. It's not working. So anyway, all right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. You know what? I have been thinking of it, actually. I've been thinking of doing something on it. It's been so difficult to follow because so many videos are being taken down and, deleted, and it's hard to follow. And in order to follow it, I would have to watch like Chud Logic or one of these other streamers, and the streams would be like 5 hours long, and I just don't have that kind of patience. But I'll see what I can cobble together. All right, thanks, guys. I will see all of you the next time. Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Boy.